The autumn fair had come to Riverside Park, bringing with it the scent of caramel apples and the cheerful music of carousel horses, turning in endless circles. Daniel Morrison stood at the edge of the crowd, his tailored suit drawing a few curious glances from families enjoying their Saturday afternoon. At 42, Daniel had built an empire in commercial real estate. His days were filled with contracts, meetings, and decisions that affected hundreds of employees. But lately, the silence of his penthouse apartment had grown heavier. Success, he'd discovered, made a poor companion on quiet evenings. He'd come to the park on impulse, remembering how his own father used to bring him to this very spot decades ago. The memory felt distant now, like looking at an old photograph through clouded glass. Near the ring toss booth, Daniel noticed a small figure, standing perfectly still while other children ran and laughed around her. A girl, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, with blonde hair pulled into a careful ponytail. She wore a floral dress that looked freshly pressed, but her eyes held something that didn't match the festive atmosphere around her. She was watching the other children with their parents, not with envy exactly, but with a quiet observation that seemed too mature for her years. Daniel found himself walking toward her, drawn by something he couldn't quite name. As he approached, he saw a small teddy bear sitting on the game booth's counter, one of the prizes you could win. "Would you like me to try to win that bear for you?" he asked gently. The girl turned to look at him with serious blue eyes. She studied him for a moment, then shook her head slowly. "No, thank you, sir." Her politeness was striking. Most children would have jumped at the offer or run, to find their parents at the approach of a stranger. "Are you here with your family?" Daniel asked, concerned now. "My aunt is over there." The girl pointed to a tired-looking woman sitting on a bench, scrolling through her phone. "She brings me sometimes. She says fresh air is good for children." There was something in the way she said it, as if she were repeating words she'd heard but didn't quite feel. Daniel glanced at the booth operator, handed him some bills, and picked up the teddy bear anyway. He held it out to the girl. "Even if you don't want it, I'd feel better knowing someone appreciated it." The girl looked at the bear, then back at Daniel. Slowly, she reached out and took it, holding it carefully against her chest. "Thank you, sir. You're very kind." She paused, then added, "My name is Emma." "I'm Daniel." He crouched down to be at her eye level, his knees protesting slightly, a reminder that he wasn't as young as he once was. "Emma, can I ask you something? What would you really like if you could have anything here at the fair?" He expected her to point at the larger prizes, or maybe ask for cotton candy or carnival tickets. Instead, Emma looked at him with those serious eyes and said something that would stay with Daniel for the rest of his life. "Sir, I don't want toys," she said quietly. "I want a dad." The noise of the fair seemed to fade away. Daniel felt his heart constrict in a way it hadn't in years. Emma continued, her voice steady but soft. "I watch the other children with their fathers. They teach them things. They carry them on their shoulders. They look proud." She hugged the teddy bear a little tighter. "Toys are nice, but they don't stay. They break or get lost. A dad stays." Daniel sat down on the ground right there, not caring about his expensive suit. This little girl, with her clear-eyed honesty, had just expressed a longing he recognized. The same emptiness he'd been trying to fill with achievements and acquisitions. "What happened to your dad, Emma?" he asked gently. "I never had one," she said simply. "My mama died when I was 4. She got very sick. Now I live with Aunt Rachel. She's nice, but she's busy a lot. She works 2 jobs. Emma looked down at the bear. "I don't think she wants to be my mama. I think she's just doing what she has to do." The matter-of-fact way Emma spoke about her situation broke Daniel's heart. Children shouldn't have to understand such adult realities. "I'm sorry about your mother," Daniel said. "That must be very hard." Emma nodded. "I remember her a little. She used to sing to me. But the memories are getting fuzzy, like old videos." They sat together in companionable silence for a moment. An unlikely pair, a wealthy businessman and a small girl with an old soul. "You know what, Emma?" Daniel said finally. "I think you're one of the wisest people I've ever met. You understand something that took me many years to learn. The best things in life aren't things at all." Emma smiled then, a real smile that made her look like the child she was. "That's what my mama used to say." Daniel felt something shift inside him. He'd been so focused on building and achieving that he'd forgotten the simple truth this little girl understood instinctively. We need each other. Would it be all right if I talked to your aunt? He asked. Maybe we could arrange for you and me to spend some time together sometimes. I could take you to the park or the library or wherever you'd like to go. Would you like that? Emma's eyes widened. Really, you'd want to? I really would, Daniel said, and he meant it with surprising intensity. They walked together to the bench where Aunt Rachel sat. She looked up, startled and a bit defensive at first, seeing a well-dressed stranger with her niece. Daniel introduced himself carefully, aware of how this might look. He explained the conversation, his interest in perhaps mentoring Emma, maybe through a formal program if that would make Rachel more comfortable. He gave her his business card, encouraged her to research him, to take whatever time she needed. Rachel's defenses slowly lowered as she listened. She wasn't a bad person, Daniel could see, just overwhelmed, stretched too thin by circumstances beyond her control. She's a special kid, Rachel said finally, her voice tired. I do my best, but I know it's not enough. She needs more than I can give her right now. Over the following weeks, Daniel did something he'd never done before. He rearranged his life. He cut back on evening meetings. He learned to delegate more. He reached out to social services and established a proper mentorship arrangement with Emma, complete with background checks and proper oversight. Every Saturday, he and Emma would spend the afternoon together. They visited museums, walked through botanical gardens, and sometimes just sat in the park feeding ducks. Emma taught Daniel to see wonder in small things again, the way sunlight filtered through leaves, the first snow of the season, the satisfaction of a successfully built card house. And Daniel? He showed Emma what it meant to have someone show up consistently, someone who remembered the stories she told, who asked about her week, who celebrated her small victories at school. One Saturday in early spring, as they sat on a park bench sharing an ice cream cone, Emma leaned against Daniel's shoulder. Mr. Daniel? She said quietly. Yes, Emma? Thank you for being my friend. You're the best not dad I could have asked for. Daniel felt his eyes sting. You're the best not daughter I could have asked for, too. They sat there as the afternoon sun painted everything golden. Two people who'd found in each other what they'd been missing. Connection, purpose, and the simple gift of being seen and valued. Daniel had learned something profound from a 6-year-old girl. True wealth isn't measured in what you own, but in the relationships you nurture. And sometimes the greatest gifts come in the smallest packages, offered at autumn fairs by children brave enough to ask for what really matters.